Welcome. Thank you for being here. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order on March 4th, 2025, and ask the city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Present.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Gray?
Present. I'll ask Commissioner Wilson to do the invocation, and then we'll remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you on behalf of all of us who are gathered here today for all the many blessings that we have. We thank you so much for the ability to be of service to our community, and we ask for your guidance as we make decisions on behalf of this community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager, are there any deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, none this evening.
Okay, great. First thing we're going to kick off with is a proclamation. We are declaring this coming Saturday, March 8th, as Craft Beer Day in Paducah. for those beer lovers. And maybe before I do this proclamation, I'll just say this. I think when you look at communities and you look at some of the coolest places, you know, that people like to go and collaborate, get together, and share, you know, is craft beer operations. I travel a lot, have traveled a lot, and you see craft beer spots open up, and it always adds a lot of value to the city. So when this opportunity came up, working with our two different craft beer operations, you know, we kind of jumped at it. So I'll ask Corey and Todd to come up, and I'll meet me, and we'll read the proclamation.
Ask them how come they didn't bring any.
Yeah. Samples.
Commissioner Smith asked me to ask you why you didn't bring any beer. That wasn't me.
His job.
Okay, so here's the proclamation. Whereas the craft beer industry has become a vital part of Paducah's culture, economy, and community, supporting local businesses, artists, and musicians. And whereas Dry Ground Brewing Company and Paducah Beer Works have established themselves as premier craft beer destinations, offering high-quality, locally brewed beverages that bring residents and visitors together. And whereas these local breweries provide welcoming spaces for community engagement, hosting live music, art showcases, and other cultural events that highlight and support local and regional talent. And whereas Dry Ground Brewing Company and Paducah Beer Works contribute to the economic vitality of the city, creating jobs, fostering tourism, and enhancing Paducah's reputation as a destination for craft beer enthusiasts. And whereas the craft beer community embodies the spirit of innovation, collaboration, and craftsmanship, enriching the social fabric of Paducah and bringing people together in celebration. And now, therefore, I, George Bray, Mayor of the City of Paducah, do hereby proclaim March 8th, 2025 as Paducah Craft Beer Day. Let's get a picture. Okay, before you guys sit down, I've got one more little treat for you. So because of the leadership of these two companies and these two gentlemen, because of all that they have contributed to the community in terms of leadership. Both breweries, both Dry Ground and Paducah Beer Works, have contributed significantly. It's in the proclamation to the fabric of our community. And I want to call Todd Bloom out individually in addition, because I know that Todd is really, if anybody goes to Todd and asks if there can be an event there or there's anything that anybody in the city needs, Todd has welcomed them with open arms. And I know Dry Ground has done a lot of that as well. So it gives me great honor to make both of them Dukes of Paducah tonight. So. There you go. All right, one more picture. Yep.
All right, cheers.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you, sir.
See you on Saturday. Okay. God willing.
There was another one I brought up here.
All righty. Okay, we have two people here to make public comments. First of all, Randall?
Randall.
Randall, you've been here before. I can't read your handwriting, Randall. But come on.
Thank you all so much for your time. Appreciate it. I'm here basically for a follow-up on the Forest Hills Playground, wondering about the availability of it for residents. I know that PMG just sold their property, so not saying there's a crunch coming on Forest Hills, but we're getting new neighbors, and a playground might be nice. Also, I have questions about refurbishment of the playground. If someone was to take that upon themselves, how would the city feel about it? How would Forest Hills? And would it make an impact on the residents themselves? I've puttered around a little bit, done some stuff, nothing major. But just some of the questions I have. Thank you so much for your time. And by the way, the gentlemen who sell the finest beer in this area, they also are in two of Paducah's very iconic buildings and have really helped, I'll say, save the buildings.
That's very
and
true.
bring new life to them. All right, well, thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
Randall.
you.
All right. Do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, thank you, Randall. Yeah, apologize. We tried to locate, last time you spoke, we didn't have a contact information for you, and so we followed up at the next meeting. I did provide a public update at the next meeting, but I'll since you're here tonight, I'll go ahead and follow that up again. The Paducah Independent School property, which is owned by the Paducah Independent Schools. That's where the old Forest Hill School sits. They do have plans for that property. It has not been sold. And they do have plans for that they're going to use internally for their use. Those are still in the works, so I'm not at liberty to fully disclose what they're doing. The property where the playground equipment sits was first deeded to the city and Paducah Water for their use of ultimately for storage and tanks and things for like that nature. Part of that requirement was that at such time that that Paducah Water needed that area for impoundment type purposes for their needs, that it would be for their use. And then in the 70s, the city entered into agreement with Forest Hills that put the playground equipment there, and it was for the Forest Hills organization to maintain the playground equipment. And so that's where we sit right now. But that area where the playground equipment is, And we have had conversations with Paducah Water. They are looking at having to use that in the near future for their impoundment purposes. So we've got some other property in the area that we are exploring with our Parks Director as where maybe have some opportunity for playground equipment out there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you for being here, Randall. And we have one more, Cornell Shackelford. Shack, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. I was coming up here on behalf of watching the news, and I saw you was talking about the homeless in Paducah, and I was listening to the statements that was being made, and I'm just trying to give you a different way to look at the situation of the homeless. Instead of looking at them as a issue or a problem, I think you should look at them as an investment. If you look at them as an investment, whenever you come up with a decision of what to do pertaining if it's going to be between the church or the city, maybe it would redirect. The reason I say that, because you're looking at a homeless of Paducah. When I moved here in '95, I was sleeping on 12th Street park bench. Had $10 in my pocket, a bag of clothes, a little airbrush gun, and didn't have no family here, didn't know a soul. It was the people in Paducah that invested in my life. I didn't even have a GED. I have a bachelor's degree. I own property here. I met my wife here at the college at West Kentucky, who came here also homeless with her 2 children at the time. We had a beautiful daughter, Shadia. All 3 of my children graduated from this community, honor roll students. Michael, my youngest son, is now touring all over the world, doing different shows. He'd been back here to the Carson Center twice, where he was put in a magazine as a homeboy of Paducah. And when Michael, even though he's born in Milwaukee, he represents Paducah. He tells everybody he's from Paducah. Even myself, people see me as a leader in this community. I play band here, so I'm in the music community. I'm a chaplain with the motorcycle club. I'm in the motorcycle club community. I'm also with the preachers, with both Merge and also the preacher line. You cannot look at the homeless as an issue. It's an investment. And that's just my family alone. I know so many other people that also came here homeless that is now your supervisors and business owners that's in this community. And if Paducah would have thought of them as a problem and not invested in them, we wouldn't have never be who we are in this community. It's amazing that people who I know personally grow up here, raise their children here, been here their whole life, and they tell their children, get an education, leave here and don't come back because Paducah have nothing to offer. But people who come here from other places to start their life over, we recognize the diamond in the rough. And believe me, if you invest in people like us, we will invest back in you. We have invested back in you. Quit looking at them as an issue. Look at them as an investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And congratulations on all the success you've had in life. Okay, maybe before we move to the consent agenda, I just had a couple of remarks I was going to make. Commissioner Wilson, Judge Clymer, and I, a small group of us, went to Washington, D.C. last week and spent a couple of days visiting with our 2 senators, our congressman. We had a meeting with the Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, working on airport issues. And I would just say that I've been going to Washington now, I guess for 15 years. I don't believe I've ever seen anything quite like I saw last week. And all of us see it on the news, all the change that's going on in Washington and the uncertainty. We sat down with a lady from the Department of Energy, a lady that we work with, consistently for some time, and she started off the meeting saying that she had resigned and she would only be there a few more days. So, the turnover with government employees is very significant. No matter what your political leanings are, one way or the other, there's a lot of change going on. And, the president has established this Department of, Government Efficiency. We all hear about that. Just this week, the Kentucky State Assembly essentially passed a law to establish the Kentucky Department of Government Efficiency, or Office of Government Efficiency. And so I don't think any of us can ignore, what the impact of that, could be. We're uncertain, at this point, how it's going to affect, the city itself in terms of grants. We just don't have a, good feel for that. I can tell you that myself and the group that went up there, we went up there to represent this community. I, as an elected official, represent all of my constituents, here, our constituents in the city of Paducah. And we advocate for this community. And but we have to wait and see, kind of what, how things play out. I will say that, from a government efficiency standpoint, I think it's important. I came out of an industry, a business, where efficiency was very important, and I think efficiency is very important for government as well. And I think as we work through the budget, for the city of Paducah, we have to keep that in mind. That we have to focus, all of our department heads and on the city of Paducah, in a most efficient manner. I think it's important because, what happens in Washington is very important for us. We can't ignore it. It affects all of us, and it's certainly the country's going through some changes right now. Our president speaks tonight. It'll be interesting. One of the things we heard last week was, the Congress and Senate had not been able to come together on any kind of budget resolution and or approve a budget. And when they can't do that, they do something called a continuous resolution, which really only requires a simple majority to pass, but a full budget in the Senate requires 60 votes. But continuing a resolution only requires a simple majority. So those decisions are going to be coming down, in the coming days and weeks, and we'll all be watching, to see how that develops. But from the city standpoint, I was proud to have the opportunity to go up there and advocate for the community. Work with the chamber, Commissioner Wilson, Judge Clymer, and others in the community, advocating for the city and this entire community. That's all I had on that. And at this point, I'll move on to items on the consent agenda, which are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and are enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The city clerk will read the items recommended for approval unless any of our commissioners would like them removed for a separate discussion. And seeing none, I'll ask the city clerk to go ahead and read them.
Approve minutes for the February 11th, 2025 regular meeting and special called meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Receive and file documents. Appointment of Storm Wilson to replace Lucia Burkhardt and Kathleen McCaney to replace Katie Flowers on the Paducah Civic Beautification Board. Said terms shall expire July 1, 2025 and July 1, 2027 respectively. Personnel actions, a municipal order authorizing the application for and acceptance of an FY 2026 highway safety grant in the amount of $30,000 through the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for overtime pay for officers and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with HDL Companies NC to research and identify businesses currently not paying business license fees, gross receipt fees, occupation tax fees, and employers' quarterly withholding to the City of Paducah. A municipal order authorizing contract modifications 1 through 6 to the contract with A&K Construction Incorporated for the re-roof and renovation of the Technology Department in an amount of $28,404, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract modifications and all other documents related to same.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we have one resolution to adopt tonight. And would you please read that, City Clerk?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution entitled, Resolution of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, adopting the findings of fact and conclusion of law for the rezoning petition of 200 Fountain Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
It's pretty self-explanatory. It is just memorializing the action that you took on February 11th at the hearing.
Okay.
That's
Any
it.
questions from commissioners?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Call roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. We have two municipal orders. I'll let the city clerk read the first one, and then I'll ask John Perkins and our guest to explain this first one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, a municipal order authorizing the finance director to make payment in an amount of $946,515.49 to the Internal Revenue Service for the 2020A General Obligation Bond Yield Restriction Liability.
So moved.
Second.
John?
So my job tonight is to try to explain how this works, and what I mess up, Mark will fix. And Mark, we brought him in from Louisville today to
From the big city.
from the big city. That's right. He came to the big city. Came from the big city. Anyway, so good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, City Clerk. A prior City Commission issued a general obligation bond. It was called the GOB 2020A in January 2020. And with that, they sought to fund an aquatic facility with a $20 million proceeds from that bond issue. And then a subsequent Board of Commission decided not to build the aquatic center and instead chose to use those proceeds for other capital items, including the Paducah McCracken County Sportsplex, the Barkley Regional Airport Terminal, 911 radio system, the Paducah Civic Center, and other items, capital items as well. Now, under federal law, a tax-exempt debt issuer has 2 years to disperse bond proceeds without concern for arbitrage liability. And funds not expended within the prescribed time period become subject to the arbitrage rules. For the time following the initial 2-year period, an issuer may invest the bond proceeds to create earnings, but the entity, in the city in this case, can only keep up to the arbitrage yield or that which we would pay our bond holders, and that rate is 2.44%. So basically, we earned interest on available bond proceeds over the past 5 years. In more recent years, our earnings exceeded the arbitrage yield, that 2.44 rate. We hired Dinsmore to prepare all the appropriate calculations in order to be in full compliance with federal law. And the yield restriction liability, or the arbitrage liability, which is what we're talking about tonight, is a little bit more than $946,000 for the last 5 years that ended in January of 2025, just last month, 6 weeks back. And payment has to be sent to the Department of Treasury not later than the end of March of this year, so we have a few weeks to get that done. And then another yield restriction liability, or the arbitrage liability recalculation, has to be done not later than the earlier of January 28 of 2030, or the date of the final disbursement of the bonds that we are talking about tonight. And so the bottom line is this. 1, we've been blessed with earnings on money we should have already dispersed over the past 2 or 3 years. And 2, we've earned on average 5.25% in calendar year 23 and 24, or about $1.8 million, which is 2 times the rate that we paid our bondholders. And 3, we put the earnings aside in anticipation that we'd have to refund the IRS, so this is not a burden on the city's budget. We earned it, we put it aside. And I've asked Mark Franklin with Dinsmore to provide further details about this issue, and then we can answer any kind of questions you might have. So Mark.
Good evening. That was a really good explanation, actually.
It really was.
I don't know how much more I can add. I'll simply just try to give some background context, if that's helpful. When you issue tax-exempt debt, of course, when you pay interest to your bondholders, they don't have to pay federal income tax on that interest. So the IRS and the United States Treasury considers that a loss, a revenue loss. They don't have money they could use for certain purposes. When tax-exempt debt first became a thing many moons ago, governmental issuers and nonprofits immediately issued debt and just put the money in accounts and said, I'll go invest it in whatever I can get and earn the difference, because they also don't pay income taxes. You don't pay income taxes to the Treasury, and nonprofits don't. And so the IRS immediately said, that's not what the point of the bonds is. The point of the bonds is to help you build projects and finance projects that benefit the public. And so over time, Congress and the IRS developed rules about how fast you have to spend your bond proceeds and how quickly you have to get rid of them, but you can still, and how quickly you can earn investment proceeds on those bonds. So in this case, in 2020, you borrowed the money, you put it in a construction fund and invested that money, which was the wisest thing to do. At the time, you couldn't earn anything in a construction fund. I mean, you paid 2.44% on your bonds, but you were probably earning, virtually nothing in your construction fund. So no one was worried about arbitrage. Of course, 3 years probably went by through COVID and rates were very low. You get past that, of course, everybody knows what bread and eggs cost now, right? That's the big issue. Interest rates are up and you can earn over 5% in a money market fund. And so the last 2 years, your bond proceeds, which have just started to really been expended in material amounts last year, have started earning 5% or over 5%. So we have to run 2 separate tests that look at how quickly you spent the money, and the tests were developed by the IRS and Congress over the years in reaction to different abuses they perceived. And so they can come out with different numbers, and you have to pay the greater of the two. One looks at how much you've earned since the date you issued the bonds, and that number is much lower because when you first issued the bonds, you couldn't invest in anything. And so you get to offset that, in effect, sort of loss of earnings against the high earnings you've had the last 2 years. The second test looks at what you've earned since year 3. That gives you 3 years to spend all your money, and then after that, you have to start doing your calculation of the difference between your bond rate and what you're earning in your account. And in that case, on the beginning of year 4 of your bond issue, you were earning over 5% in your construction fund. And so that's why we have the big number. It's good news. The last 2 years, you've earned $1.5 million in your construction fund, which is great. And the IRS will let you keep, over 45% of that, because that's about what the math equals out to, about half. And the other half you have to pay to the Treasury.
So that was my question. So of the arbitrage amount, they get 55, we get 45? Is that
About that, yeah, rough numbers.
give or take.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll be back again 5 more years, because there's still $13 million, a little over $13 million in the construction fund at the end of January. So this is a 5-year true up. Every 5 years you have to look and see what you've earned and pay up any difference. And so, the goal is to spend the proceeds as expeditiously as possible now that you've identified new projects, and you are doing that. You can see that in the report as it shows the expenditures. So it's
Very good.
Yeah, it's not a loss. It's just
Yep.
paying a share. Thanks.
We just love to pay money to the IRS.
Any questions?
No, I don't have
Good.
any questions. I understand it. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas? Aye. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Second municipal order tonight is the approval of the long-awaited and diligently worked at Hotel Metropolitan co-stewardship agreement. And Hope is here to talk about it, but I'll let our city clerk read it first, please.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing and Approving a Hotel Metropolitan Co-Stewardship Agreement Between the City of Paducah and the Uppertown Heritage Foundation, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement."
So moved.
Second.
Welcome, Miss Betty.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and City Clerk. As the Mayor said, I'm very excited to be up here for this co-stewardship agreement between the city and the Uppertown Heritage Foundation. This has been a work in progress dating back to when we jointly applied for a grant from the Mellon Foundation that was received to do capacity building, capital improvements, to focus on the long-term sustainability and growth of the Hotel Metropolitan and Purple Room. So this is a 3-year agreement between our two organizations. At the end of 3 years, there is an option to renew for 2 more 12-month periods if we choose to do that. And what this document basically does is it takes the information from what was committed to in the Mellon Foundation grant, along with the $250,000 per year for potentially 3 years from the city to the Uppertown Heritage Foundation to support the Hotel Metropolitan and Purple Room. And so what this does is that this puts in writing what each of our organizations, what our roles will be, how we will carry out these functions, and hopefully, be what is going, well, not hopefully, it's going to be a really successful project for the Hotel Metropolitan and the Purple Room, and just really exciting to get to move forward with this. So, and I will turn it over to Betty. Betty, would you like to? Yes.
Betty's never lost for words.
First, I wanted to show everybody, look what Hope gave me. She's just here for pie. And I appreciate that. And, that's what it's about, showing love and things like that. And what better way to show love but when you feed someone, it just makes the heart fond and it helps to open discussions that might not have happened. But saying all of that, I'm just so appreciative to each and every one of you. Thankful to the mayor when he went to New York, and we made a good team. I'll say it like that, And we walked away with $1 million.
Our accent sold.
But I also, by being here too, I know you guys see me a lot and you hear me a lot, but we have a board and that helps to make things happen. Our president, Rosa Scott, is sick, so she couldn't be here. But would the board members please stand? I don't want to call them all by name. This is some of the board members, and we even have a board member on the commission. And then we've had the support of JW. I could say the NAACP, but we had the support of JW. During those days when we didn't have a lot of money in the pot, and I would call and
And I know he probably didn't want to answer the phone, but he did. And so we have been able to continue over the years, and I look forward, and I'm so excited, and I think I speak for the board that we're excited that we can finally get to this point, and with the amendments that we're going to do, the additions, I guess I should say, that we're going to do, it'll really be great for the city and for the hotel. And I want to say this too. I've got a lot of stuff on my mind, and I know everybody don't want to stay here all night. But in the month of February, for 2 weeks, we saw 270 people at the Hotel Metropolitan. Thank you. That is no joke. And we did it together, a small group. It may not be the people that you know or whatever, but they're dedicated and they do what they need to do for us to be here today. And you'll still have that kind of dedication moving forward. And again, I just thank you. And I wished I had pie for you, but I don't. The eggs are too high. But I love each and every one of you, and just thankful for you.
Well, maybe after we get the project finished and it's all up, and maybe we'll maybe have a commission meeting at the Hotel Metropolitan.
That
How about that?
sounds good to me.
Okay.
Sounds wonderful.
So we can all celebrate with you.
Okay. And let's get it started fast because, the siding on the outside is about ready to go, and we tried to work on it, but they if you touch one, 50 or 75 will fall. So just leave it alone. So we need to get that done because it is kind of
Yes, ma'am.
on the inside.
Well, we'll schedule a kickoff meeting to sit down and talk about the agreement, and we'll ratify it here shortly, and then I'll work with Hope, and we'll set up a meeting to kick everything off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Betty.
Appreciate it. Thank you, dear.
All right, I will ask the city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.
Yes, thank you all.
Okay, we have 4 ordinances to adopt tonight. They've all been read previously. This will be the second reading, and I'll let the city clerk start with the first one.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance providing for the closing of 15,460 square feet of North 3rd Street between Harrison Street and Executive Boulevard, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents relating to same. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah does hereby authorize the closure of 15,460 square feet of North 3rd Street between Harrison Street and Executive Boulevard, and directs the mayor to execute quitclaim deeds from the City of Paducah to the property owners in or abutting the public way to be closed, and all other necessary documents to effectuate the closure.
So move.
Second.
Any questions? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Go ahead, city clerk, and read the next one.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, approving a memorandum of understanding by and among the City of Paducah, Kentucky, and Trails End Development LLC with respect to the residential development of vacant property within the corporate boundaries of the City of Paducah, and authorizing the execution of various documents related to such memorandum of understanding. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah approves the Trails End Subdivision Residential Infill Development Agreement with Trails End Development LLC for a period of 5 years with a total rebate not to exceed total amount of ad valorem real property taxes actually received by the city, or 20% of the total infrastructure cost, whichever is less, and authorizes the mayor to execute all documents related to same.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. So the next ordinance we're going to adopt is really, we went over this 2 weeks ago, but it's related to just preparing for the opening of any medicinal cannabis business. And I'll ask the city clerk to read it.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Chapter 106, Article 3, Gross Receipts License Tax of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah to address medical cannabis licensing for the City of Paducah. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance amendment defines medicinal cannabis businesses, sets a minimum annual license tax of $500, and creates Schedule F of the General License Tax Schedule. Schedule F determines the amount of tax payable by multiplying the business entity's location's taxable gross receipts up to $3,500,000 times .005 and multiplying all gross receipts in excess of $3,500,000 times 0.00005. In order to receive a business license, a medicinal cannabis business will be required to present a valid license issued by the appropriate cabinet of the Commonwealth pursuant to KRS Chapter 218B as amended and be in good standing with the City of Paducah, including but not limited to compliant with City Code of Ordinances Chapter 126 zoning.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. And the final adoption is just eliminating our 911 landline fees, which we talked about a couple weeks ago.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 4, Police Department of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah to abolish landline fees. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance amends Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 4, Police Department of the City of Paducah Code of Ordinances to remove the landline fees and make other necessary edits to align with the interlocal agreement for provision of emergency 911 services between the City of Paducah and the County of McCracken as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. And we do have an executive session tonight. That's all that we have on the agenda, and I'll just open it up for comments from City Manager.
None this evening, Mayor.
Any comments from our Board of Commissioners?
None for me.
So I would ask the City Clerk to please read a motion to move to executive session.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics. Proposed or pending litigation is permitted by KRS 61.810, subsection 1C.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. We do not expect to take any action afterwards. 42 minutes.
Not a record.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.